What's up guys, Joe with Tradger Farms. I'm a habitat specialist with Whitetail Habitat Solutions alongside Jeff Sturgis and the gang. Today we're doing something a little bit unique, not something that you're gonna hear much on Jeff's video, and there's many reasons. Similarly, of course, teaching Jeff strategies that we don't do girdling. But today we are going to implement it, and I'm going to describe why and maybe where you might implement it as well, but also the negatives and the reason that we don't really recommend it when we go to client properties and things of that nature. So here next to me I have this big soft maple, silver maple, I believe, and really guys, there's tons of trees, maples, etc. that I could go on about that don't really have a lot of habitat value, right? And even the ones that do drop nuts and stuff, whether it be hickory, oak, etc., that we all come to love so much, they only do so much for us in such a short amount of time. So if you have a bunch of oaks on your property, don't feel like it's not something that you can't utilize. Maybe it's the main canopy that you have. I've been to some properties around the country where they mostly have oaks. So if the stand is too mature and we don't have the understory that we want, that's what we're going to be left with to cut. In my case here in southern Michigan, we are in a pretty diverse group of woods. Everything from oak, hickory, beech, maple, poplar, aspen, cherry kind of trees. And many of those, again, no habitat value. So we've been recently working on our road that I've been showing you guys, and I did a pretty nice video on invasives and talked a little bit about basil bark and what that meant. If you haven't checked it out, feel free, I'll put it in the link on the screen. But one of the things we talked about was the herbicide for basil bark, and what was cool about that is that you don't actually need to cut into the tree. You really want to wait till there's no snow and you can spray just the base of an invasive, whether it be honeysuckle, multiflora rose, buckthorn, etc. And you can kill it, and we don't need to carry around a chainsaw the whole time. So that's kind of nice, and that's really, what we can mix with that is kind of what we're using today, but it's triclopyr 4, about 20-25%, and then 75 or so percent diesel. And the oil base versus the water base is going to kind of help that seep into the tree and stay a little bit longer so that can get soaked in. Now, anything bigger than 2 inches for the basil bark without cutting, you're probably going to have to cut it, and you're going to have to spray the stump. But again, that was a different video. So in working so much on the road, we're going to be running out of time this winter. As things warm up, I'm going to have trouble getting equipment back here. So what I'm going to be doing currently now with Mike, who's here with me today, is cutting some trees, or girdling them, and spraying that same herbicide into the crevice. We're cutting about an inch deep, carrying a nice lighter chainsaw that we can just go simply around the tree, again about an inch deep all the way around. So we are breaking that cambium layer, and then we're simply taking a little squirt bottle you can get at Lowe's or anything like that, mixing it in, and then just spraying it in the crevice. Now, that method will take a little bit longer to kill the tree. However, it will kill it a little over time. It might even leaf out, but it's going to kill it. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to get some sunlight to the ground this year as soon as I can. And I'm cutting trees down that I will be pulling out next winter. So that's a big differential that I want to make. I am not leaving trees girdled here that could fall and be a safety hazard for my child, Mike's future child that's on the way. We plan on taking these while the wood is still good, and within the next year or so. So I'm okay killing these, getting that sunlight in. And now that my roads are complete, I'll be able to get some of that wood out. We have plenty, as you can see by me, of good understory that's coming up. And then just past me, I don't know if you can see it all, but that hardwoods is really thin. So getting this south-facing line, this big maple here, is going to bring a ton of sunlight over there. And we'll do the same thing and kind of scatter it around. So that's a big negative, guys, is the safety concern. The other big negative is tree type. The poplar and the aspen we are not going to be doing today. We do not want to spray herbicide on some of those trees where when I do flush cut it, we expect not just stump sprouts, but all these sprouts coming up from the ground. When we get those sprouts, it's going to do way more advantage for us, getting the shoots coming up, 1,000 shoots per acre, than it is going to be some of the maples, etc., that will just have some stump sprouts. So we're not going to spray herbicides on those. If I was carrying around 2 saws, I could cut those. And the additional reason I would say that we're doing this is because in some areas where I've made pockets, I have a ton of wood on the ground, and I'm just not gonna have the time to go through and make some escape routes for those deer that we talk about on our client visits and on the YouTube channel, so that those deer feel comfortable bedding in the pockets. We just have so much wood. So we did those, we worked on our roads. We're gonna girdle a few trees and spray this herbicide, kind of like a combination between hack and squirt and girdling, I guess. So you're killing the cambium layer, it can't take up the nutrients, but we're also implementing that herbicide into it as well. And then the following year, we'll come back in, we'll remove those trees that we girdled, and we will also flush cut the poplars and the other trees that we're gonna let in that sunlight and get the new growth in as well. So I hope that makes sense. We'll show you a couple different trees. I'm gonna start cutting this here in a second, and then Mike will grab the bottle and we'll move on and find another tree to talk about. So another thing we want to do real quick, guys, is kind of clear some of this shrubbery around the tree so that I can cleanly go around. Sometimes it'll take a few resets to make sure we're on the same line as we go around, so it's not a total X pattern. You can see here we do have some poison ivy, so just kind of be careful. I know this is going to kick up a little bit of dust, so I'm going to try and be out of the way, or maybe hold the saw away from me just for that, so that that stuff isn't being flung back at me. Turn our saw on here. So pretty dang close. We got our inch or so cut all the way around. Now we're gonna spray a little herbicide in there. All right, Mike's gonna go around with our bottle that we got from Lowe's and just give it a little squirt kind of around the crevice around this tree. You can see the blend in the bottle, the diesel. You do wanna put your herbicide in first in the bottle. I can't exactly tell you why from personal experience, but if you do any research online, you will notice that sometimes there can be an order, specifically if you're going to mix more than one herbicide. But in this case, just the triclopyr 4, and then adding in the diesel after the fact. There's some milliliter marks on there, so it makes it pretty easy. Another thing that we want to look for when we're trying to identify these trees, besides the tree type, like not doing poplar and things of that nature, is just really non-timber value trees. I know we're here for habitat. I'm all for that 100%. But if there's a couple good oaks, or maybe just, a good walnut or something that's rather straight, of course it's going to be nice for me to take out trees like this, where it's just multiple trunks, there's shoots everywhere, there's a big canopy. It's never going to really be a quality tree. I can come in and take this, and it just adds to that advantage, not only for habitat, but in helping some of the other trees. So non-junk tree, and then even releasing trees, kind of what I was alluding to. We have a red oak over here, so maybe taking this multi-trunk, in front of it will be fine, and we'll kind of release that oak. We'll get some of these young beeches growing. The beeches are the ones still holding on to their leaves, the really smooth bark. And then you can see a big white oak over there. I don't know if Mike can show you. And you can see by that white oak, there's a little tree next to it, really right next to it, within a couple feet. And that'll be another one that we will take off. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow, these other oak trees to take up those nutrients that aren't going to be sucked up by these other inferior trees. And you are releasing, is what they call it, that larger tree. It can produce more acorns, maybe more often, all of these other benefits. So those are some of the other things that I'm looking for when I'm identifying these trees. We're about halfway through today, halfway through our herbicide. The chainsaw is about halfway through. I really do like that DeWalt chainsaw. I'll show you guys later, but it's a nice 14-inch bar. You can use some 9 or 12 amp hour batteries, last quite a while. And it's much lighter. I think I want to say less than 10 pounds with that big battery. I think it's 7 or so without it. And the other advantage is when you have these, when the corn cobs start coming off the trees, the deer you know, really gonna love it. So just kidding. So anyway, that's gonna wrap up today, guys. We're gonna do as many as we can until we run out of a charge or herbicide here, and then we'll be back out to do some other work, taking down some blind covers. We might continue this a little bit, and then along with timber stand improvement, we have to do our invasives a little more, and we also might get rid of some of these grapevine that are pulling down trees and ruining our forests. And that can simply be one cut through the grapevine with some loppers, a small chainsaw, anything like that, and let these trees keep doing their thing. So any questions, leave them in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.